What's good, Amina and Who's family? Welcome to, I don't know what we calling this yet, but welcome to what I'm going to refer to right now as our weekly roundup. As a lot of y'all know, my name is Bryan. And what I'm going to be doing over the course of this season, something I started doing or I started focusing on last year, was picking a particular team in the NBA and really honing in on what they're doing throughout that season. So trying to watch as many games of them as possible, trying to really hone in on the players that have been added, additions that have been made, subtractions that have been made, and seeing what this team is going to look like. And this year, I'm looking at a team that a lot of people are very excited about, especially after the preseason that they've had. And that team is going to be none other than the Chicago Bulls. Last year, I focused on the Golden State Warriors for numerous reasons. I'm a big Steph Curry guy, but we're going to put Steph to the side a little bit this season. We're going to look at what the Chicago Bulls are trying to accomplish this year. A lot of people are very excited about what this team could do. I've heard them be ranked as high as 4th, all the way down to 11th by John Hollinger for what that's worth. I'm not going to bore y'all with all the additions that they made. The season's right around the corner. We know what moves these guys have made. Adding guys such as Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso. Like, this team has loaded up on offensive talent, and a lot of people are excited to see what that can produce in the court. So this is just going to be a quick season preview of things I've noticed throughout the offseason that I've seen in preseason, and then I'm going to come back to y'all next week after we watch a couple of their games, see how they're doing. So just a quick recap. We know Chicago Bulls last year finished 31-41. Like I said, we all know they made the big move at the trade deadline, acquiring Nikola Vucevic, an all-star caliber big man, a 20-10 guy. And for the most part, that move did not really go the way they hoped for a number of reasons. It's always hard to introduce a new big man into an offense right in the middle of the season. Zach Lavine had his injury during that time, so they never really got any traction. They were unable to make that playoff push that they wanted. But the Chicago Bulls front office, seeing that they had Zach Lavine emerging his first all-star season, acquiring Nikola Vucevic, they doubled down and said, all right, we are a win-now team. In this offseason, we saw them go ahead and make moves for DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball, two players that some people love and some people don't love. Like I said, DeMar DeRozan, everybody kind of has his issues with because he still hasn't really added the three-point shot to his game. He is one of the best mid-range scorers in the league. Has become a very improved playmaker, especially during his time in San Antonio. But a lot of people are still kind of iffy on whether or not he moves the middle due to his lack of three-point shooting and not being an elite perimeter defender. Lonzo Ball is a guy who, hey, the stories have been out there for pretty much his entire career. From the way his dad set him up to come to the NBA, how his career started off with the Lakers, then moving on to New Orleans. But it's safe to say Lonzo has become a very productive and valuable player in this NBA. He's improved on his jump shot so much. So while people may be a little bit higher on the Lonzo edition than the DeMar edition, you have to admit adding two offensive talents of this caliber makes the Chicago Bulls a very interesting team coming into the playoffs. And what's really wild is even with Zach Lavine emerging as an all-star last year, you saw this team last year, they still only finished 19th in offensive rating in the NBA, which is well below average, especially with a team that had that type of firepower, even after adding Nikola Vucevic. They were 11th last year in defensive rating, but that also went down with Nikola Vucevic added to the roster. I think they ended up, they were like top 10 before Vucevic got there. Once he got there, they ended up falling like 17th, 18th. So it kind of ended up balancing itself out. But I want to say, like, the biggest question marks I've seen with this entire roster construction, and honestly, it comes down to like three things: depth, defense, and shooting. Like, those three things. And those are three things you would really need to see in order for a team to be a very successful regular season team. Like I said, I've seen this team people talk about them as if they're a lock for a top 4 seed. And I just don't see it at this moment, even after watching them in preseason, while they did look impressive at times. The depth of this team is really in question. Their starting five, I honestly believe, is going to be one of the better starting fives in the NBA. You're rolling out Lonzo Ball, DeMar, Zach, Patrick Williams, second-year player, a guy I like a lot. I had him very high on my draft board last year. I think he's going to be a very fine player. He's probably going to be their best perimeter defender out after Lonzo Ball, especially for wings. And then Vucevic, like, you have essentially 3 all-star level players in your starting five. I still can consider DeMar somewhat of an all-star caliber player. Like I said, he hasn't made it in a while, but he still is giving you all-star caliber production most nights. So you have 3 all-star caliber players: Lonzo Ball, an emerging young player, and then Patrick Williams, a good second-year player. That is a top 5 that can go toe-to-toe with just about anybody in the NBA. The problem becomes what's on the roster after that. This depth chart just doesn't really move the needle after maybe their top 6 guys. I mean, you're looking at guys like, Alex Caruso. I love the addition. I think Alex Caruso is a very solid player. I love him as a Laker fan. Love what he did. I actually have been very impressed with him in the preseason because he's doing things you didn't see him do a lot in LA. He's running the second unit. He's handling the ball in the pick and roll. So I love what I've seen from him in the preseason. But even with that, after Alex Caruso, you have Kobe White. I honestly feel like Kobe White doesn't fit this roster anymore. He's a young guy who needs shot attempts to be productive. He's not a high-level playmaker yet, and not a high-level defender, not a great spot-up shooter. He's more of a Lou Williams type player who needs to get the ball, be able to create for himself. And on a roster with Zach Lavine, DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, and now Alex Caruso, I don't see where those opportunities come from. And he's also out with shoulder surgery for the next 2 months as right now. Then after that, you're looking at guys like Bryan Jr., a solid NBA vet, but once again doesn't really move the needle. Derrick Jones Jr., we all know Derrick Jones, high flyer athlete, but once again doesn't really move the needle. And then Tony Bradley is like their backup big man. Like, I just don't see how this roster construction can hold up throughout the entire regular season. If anybody in that starting 5 goes down for a significant amount of time, like, I think Chicago's really in trouble for what they can accomplish. So depth is like the number one concern for me. Like I said, if Zach Lavine or DeMar go down for any significant amount of time, even if Lonzo goes down for a significant amount of time, they're really gonna struggle. Defense, like Lonzo Ball is a good defender. I think Patrick Williams has the potential to be a good defender. Caruso is gonna be a solid defender. Lavine is gonna have to show the defense he had in the Olympics. Like, people are very high on Zach Lavine this year for good reason. He had a great year last year. He had a very strong showing in the Olympics. But we got to see that now in the NBA night in and night out. And you now have to do it while being a 25 to 28 point scorer on your team, which every NBA player knows that's a whole different level of competitiveness that you need to have. So I think Zach Lavine can do this. Like, it's really going to be a question, can Zach Lavine make another almost superstar level jump? We saw him make an all-star caliber jump, but can he make a superstar level jump where he's now a very effective two-way player while also getting you 25 points a night? And he doesn't have to be the sole creator on that team due to the additions of Lonzo and DeMar. But so defense, like I said, Vucevic is an okay defender. He's smart, he's heady, but at the end of the day, he's not a great rim protector, and I don't see who that rim protector is off the bench either. I'm a firm believer. Granted, the 3-ball has taken over the NBA, but in order to have a great defense, you still need a strong rim protector. Like, there's no way around that. And if you don't have that, then not only are you weak on the perimeter, you're now giving up shots at the rim as well. Like, it's not a good combination. Like, I think they could do some very interesting things on defense. They have the potential to switch 1 through 4 if DeMar and Zach really buy in. But I still think that's a shaky ground to end up on with Vucevic as your backline guy. And then last but not least is shooting. Like, it sounds crazy to say a team like with Zach Lavine is gonna like struggle with shooting, but like after Zach Lavine, I don't really know who's the strong outside shooter of this group. Lonzo Ball is very much improved, don't get me wrong, but even with his improvement, you have to admit he's still somewhat streaky. He's gonna have games where he goes on fire, 5 for 6, 4 for 7, and then he's gonna have games where he goes 1 for 5. We know DeMar DeRozan isn't a great 3-point shooter. He doesn't attempt a lot, even though he has been attempting them in the preseason, shockingly enough. I'm actually interested to see if he continues that through the regular season. Vucevic is a very good outside shooter for a big, but once again, he's not like an elite 3-point shooter. He's not a guy who can create his own shot from the 3-point line. Like I said, he's definitely a pick and pop threat. Patrick Williams is a guy who hit 3 last year, but didn't take a lot. And then like after that, the bench is a bunch of guys who aren't really strong 3-point shooters either. Like I said, last year I think they finished 17th in attempts, 13th in percentage. So far through the preseason, I think they're now down to like 28th in 3-point attempts. Like, that shows you that this team has like a different mentality. They're kind of much more of a mid-range team now with the additions of DeMar and Vucevic. Like, they're gonna really try to beat guys inside the key, which is cool, but you have to be super efficient, super creative in your offensive approach to make that happen. And that's gonna be interesting to see if they can pull that off. I'm all for it. Like I said, I love the mid-range game. I'm a Kobe Bryan guy, so DeMar, go have your renaissance. But it's gonna be an interesting thing in a league that's now so heavily dependent on 3-point shooting if they can continue to be a top offensive team throughout this regular season if they're not relying on that. I do think they're going to be very amazing in transition though. With Lavine and DeMar on wings, Lonzo, Patrick Williams, like they're going to be a very dynamic team in the open court. Like I said, essentially anybody who gets the ball pushes it up the court. Everybody can make plays. Zach and DeMar are both very underrated playmakers. So I'm so excited to see them in transition, but I'm really interested to see how they make this whole thing work in the half court. And then, like I said, the real couple questions is Kobe White's fit. Once again, I think he's actually a guy who we might see moved at the trade deadline. Once again, he's not playing for, I think, the next 2 months or so. By the time he comes back, the rotation is going to be pretty much set. It's going to be really hard for him to break into that rotation and get his shot, get his attempts up, especially with the guys he now has to share the floor with. And then, can Zach Lavine make this next jump? Like, Zach Lavine impressed me so much last season, being essentially the lone initiator for that team on the perimeter. So seeing him now have more help around him, he can now do and focus on more things, focus on the little things a little bit more. I'm interested to see if he takes another jump and does he kind of hit that. We now look at him in that Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. Is he in that discussion category where he's leading a team to the playoffs and possibly leading them on a run that a lot of people think they can make? I'll be honest, I don't see them making that run as of now, but the season hasn't started yet. They may surprise me. Right now, I have them finishing 7th on my board. Once again, that's more so due to the things I just don't see a season with the depth they have. Like I said, if anybody on their top 5 goes down, I think they're really going to struggle for a couple weeks. And the East is so loaded, especially at the top, that having anybody go down for more than 2 weeks is going to really hurt your chances staying in that top 6, top 4, top 3, however you want to phrase it, where you think you may have them at. So I'm interested to see what this season has in store for this team. They went undefeated in the preseason for what that's worth. I will say they didn't really face heavy competition. They played the Cavaliers twice. He played the Pelicans without Zion or B.I., and then they played the Memphis Grizzlies the other night. That was probably their best game or their best competition they played, and Zach Lavine did go off in that game. I think he had like 31, 6, and 8. Kind of just showing like, yo, he's ready for the season. He's ready for the moment. So I'm excited to see what this team has in store. Like I said, this is going to be something I'm doing every week. So I'm going to check back in with y'all probably next Sunday. Like I said, I think they have, I believe, 2 or 3 games on the schedule before that. I'm going to watch each of those games. And I'm going to come back to y'all, tell y'all what I see. And hopefully y'all going to go on this journey with me. Once again, this is Bryan. Y'all know where y'all can find me at. Only One Beecham on Instagram, Twitter, on Facebook, Bryan Beecham. You already know, hit the like and subscribe button on a Minor Hoops because y'all know this is where all the best content is coming from. So shout out to y'all. Love y'all. See y'all soon.